Yo, welcome to Containing Luxury. On this episode, we're going to be doing our Q&A.
Question 1. Should I worry about chemicals that were shipped in a used shipping container?
I honestly don't want to get too in-depth into that because it's beyond my pay grade. But what I could say is if that was something you were concerned about, there's a lot of different ways of these builds I've seen address that issue. Going to the extent of ripping out the subfloor, then you might as well start with a different structure because it is a major project. I wouldn't even use a shipping container if that was my concern. The other way, if you were concerned about that but not super concerned over the top, then you could seal the floor with some type of seal coating, and then when we installed that insulation on our subfloor, we actually taped all the seams with aluminum tape, so it's completely airtight. We foamed the edges when we slid them into place, and then we also went ahead and put our plywood over the top of that, and then have a vapor barrier sound deadener that we installed all the way through the entire container and wrapped it nice and tight and taped all the seams on that, and then we installed our waterproof vinyl flooring. So that subfloor is so far beyond any access of air into the container that I'm not concerned with it, but that's gonna come down to your personal preference. If that's something you're really concerned about, then maybe look into a different build. But there are more than enough ways that I could foresee you could remedy that pretty quickly, pretty easily. It's not something I'm concerned with personally, so with the way that we did it.
Question 2. What kind of Wi-Fi and cell reception do you get inside a shipping container?
It's actually a really good question because it was something that I did not know was an issue until I bought a shipping container. So before we opened up and had all of our penetrations cut in the side of this thing, there was no cell phone coverage, no Wi-Fi, and my house is right here. So, and I have a really strong signal here. I had nothing. So, and it's kind of cool in the same fact because, some people are like, I live near, electrical wires or I don't want cell phone coverage when I'm inside my container if you're going out of the wilderness. So it could be a positive or a negative depending on your purpose. But when we had a Bluetooth speaker going in here while we're working, when we stepped on the other side of the container, you could literally have the Bluetooth speaker right on the other side of the wall and it wouldn't pick it up. So it definitely stops Wi-Fi, cell phone coverage. Now, if you wanted to have Wi-Fi and cell phone coverage, there's an easy remedy to that as well. And just get a range extender, or they have data boosters through any of the cell phone providers. You can put near the window, and it's kind of virtually just an antenna that's going to boost it in. So there's remedies to that. And if you don't want it, then they're pretty good for blocking everything else out. So,
Question 3. Can you go over what kind of permits I need for my shipping container?
Okay, so permitting, that is a rabbit hole of trying to answer. Literally every single municipality, every state, county, city is going to be different. So what I may have to go through here is going to be completely different as to what somebody would have to go through literally 30 miles away. We live in South Florida. It's going to be a very detailed process. We definitely have to have an architect, so we have to have architectural drawings, we have to have mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans that are submitted. We have to go through inspections on installing all of that stuff, and we have to have a licensed professional install it all. So in our case, that build would be very expensive. It's a catch-22, and the permitting process is completely different everywhere you go. But if you were experienced and you feel like you can take on this build yourself and you can follow along with us and any other areas where you can get the information, I think it's definitely possible that you can pull an owner builder, do the majority of this work yourself. You've learned what insulations can be used, you've learned fast ways of doing plumbing, then you may even be able to avoid architectural drawings altogether. I know there's a guy in Tennessee that was looking at these, and it's unrestricted land. So literally nothing. I can build whatever I want, put it there. All he needs is a septic inspection. Other than that, nothing. So, I mean, it comes down to, it could cost you $200 or it could cost you $20,000. It really depends on the complexity of your build, where it's being built, where it's ending up. So it's a really, really valid question. But to go back to the beginning, will we shoot a video on it of the process? Yes, we will. We just haven't gotten to that point. The one that we've built is not intended to stay here, so it's going somewhere else. So when we get it to that point, we'll show you how the permit process works. We do have another build that we have contracted that's a really complex build, but there's architects, engineers, there's multiple containers. So it's exactly the same as it would be for any other house, any other structure. So really long way of answering that. You got to look into that yourself. You got to go and talk to your municipalities, talk to the building department, ask the questions, educate yourself on your area. You're not going to be able to find those answers on Google. So,
Question 4. What kind of resale value can I expect from my shipping container home?
So resale value, no idea. Never had somebody buy one and sell one. When I think about the real estate market, I've been around it a long time. I'm a younger guy, but I've worked with a lot of investors. We've developed a lot of land. We've been involved with a lot of that kind of stuff of development. And typically it's the land, the land is worth the money. You build a house and the house is gonna have maintenance. It's gonna have repairs throughout the years, but the land is increasing in value based upon the location. So the thing I like about container homes, I think that they're, like, say you put an RV, the most common thing, so you have to compare apples to apples. A container home of a single container or even two containers is not comparable to a house. So you can't compare those two things. You have to compare it to like a trailer or a RV or a tiny house. And the reality is, I think a container home is most closely related to an actual home. Because of the structure and the integrity of it and the way they're designed. So I would say of all of those factors it's most closely compared to, it is far going to hold its value way better than any of the other alternatives. Will it hold its value as well as a house? I think so, because technically it's a structure that's attached to the ground. But the square footage is so small, it's not really going to be comparable in that design. Now, the cool thing I do love about a shipping container home, if I have single containers, is my land goes up in value. I like my container home. I don't lose any of the improvements I've put into it. I call a company that literally comes up, picks up my house, puts it onto a trailer, and I move it to my next land because I just sold my land for a premium. So I take my house with me. That's, I think, the biggest benefit. But if you sell it on the land, I would say it probably holds its value. But you're gonna make money, hopefully, on the land itself anyway.
Question 5. What do you think about shipping containers longer than 40 feet? I've seen some that go to 45 feet.
In my experience, I've only seen 10, 20s, and 40s. I've actually not seen 45-foot containers. I've heard that they exist. I just haven't seen any. And all the distributors, the big port people that we work with, I've only heard 20s and 40s. And those 20s and 40s are commonly found at ports. I think if you get into those specialty designs or sizes, that they're probably gonna be altered in some way and you're gonna be paying for that alteration. I highly doubt, just because of supply and demand. There's way more 40-foot high cubes and 40-foot standard containers than any other container on the market. So those are going to be the best bang for the buck value. As far as getting some of the other ones, if it works for your design and into your budget, yeah. But as far as standard, everything is always gonna be 8 foot because there's rules of the road. And that's anything over 8 foot. Even if your tires stick out over the 8 foot mark, you have to have a wide load sign. So all these containers are gonna come 8 foot. So you're limited for sure in that. Length is gonna come in those variations, but most commonly you're gonna find 40 foots are your best bang for the buck, standard or high cube. Okay guys, we're gonna take a break and that's gonna be it for this video. Stay tuned though, because we're gonna have a part 2. We've got a lot of questions to cover. It's just, unless you wanna sit here for the next hour and a half and grab a bag of popcorn, we're gonna break this video up into 2, but keep watching our Q&As. The more questions we have pour in, we're gonna try and release one every week, maybe 2 weeks, to go over the most commonly answered asked questions and get you answers. So Thanks again, guys. Make sure to support us on that Patreon account or subscribe.